There we go. All right, we are live, everyone. Now, I usually do the same sort of introduction, highlighting what we're all about here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, but I want to just shut that out the window for a minute and say a couple things. One is that this is Oceans Week. That is really important to highlight. All week long, we've been celebrating amazing ocean presentations, over 25 broadcasts throughout the week, including a few tomorrow and the rest of the day today. And that is just so important. Wherever you're joining from around the world, you are connected to the oceans, be that through rivers, lakes, streams, or garbage compactors. A lot of the issues affecting the ocean affect us all around the world. And so there's some really simple tips that you guys can do at home, wherever you might be joining from, to help really make a huge difference. So check that out. We've been featuring them on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. National Geographic is a great Planet of Plastic initiative, so I encourage you to check that out. But most importantly, we are joined live at the Toronto Zoo today. So over the last 3 months, we did 2 programs at the zoo back when times were normal, and those were a lot of fun, polar bears and a general conservation message. But over the last 3 months, while all of you guys have been stuck at home, we have done, I think, 20 plus broadcasts with the Toronto Zoo, featuring everything from Komodo dragons to bats to cleaning up litter to anything under the sun. Pretty much every program you can do at the zoo, we have done at the zoo. We even did one in French yesterday, which is so thrilling. So I just want to say a huge thank you on behalf of both myself, Jesse, and the organization Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. It's been so much fun, such a thrill highlighting all these great stories. And I think literally of our 20 most watched videos we've ever had in our history, I think 18 of them are Toronto Zoo programs. So from you guys as an audience, and again, so many people joining us in every one of our sessions, it's been so much fun having you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it personally. So thank you. All right, with that said, out of the way, today's topic is on the Blanding's turtle. So this is a really a fantastic animal. I'm so excited to highlight a local creature and something that you guys can really engage with at home here in Toronto, the GTA, and across Ontario. So we're going to learn how the Toronto Zoo conserves Blanding's turtles, what is head starting, how does it help recover populations, and what happens to the turtles once they're released into the wild. So I'm excited to dive in. We got some great links to share with you on YouTube as well, so check for those throughout the broadcast. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Ellen and Megan, who are going to walk us through a really, really cool presentation today. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us for our last one with you guys, and we appreciate it more than you know. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Jesse. So like you said, my name is Megan, and I am the Adopt-A-Pond Wetland Conservation Wildlife Biologist here at the zoo. And I'm here to talk to you today about our Blanding's Turtle Head Start program. So it's one of the many programs at the zoo that is involved in the reintroduction of native species at risk to their native habitats around the world, as well as one of the conservation programs that focuses on local conservation right here in Toronto. So I'm going to start off by introducing you to this guy. So this is Captain Sunshine. And I'm going to try to grab him. He's a little far. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is Captain Sunshine. You can get up close and personal. And he is our resident male Blanding's turtle here at the zoo. And he's being very uncooperative today, not sticking his head out. But if you can see this yellow part under his head and under his chin, that is the best way to tell a Blanding's turtle. It's a bright yellow chin and neck. If he were to stick his neck out, maybe later in the broadcast, but you can also see under his arms here, it's very bright yellow. So that's the most characteristic way to tell a Blanding's turtle. And it's a feature that they have from the moment they hatch throughout their life into adulthood. You can also see some other characteristics of being a Blanding's turtle. His shell, oh, maybe he'll come out. His shell is very domed. Sorry, buddy. His shell is very domed. So it's more like this shape instead of the flatter. Oh, there. Can you see his chin a bit better? Perfect. There you go. So it's more domed than it would be for a flatter turtle, like a painted turtle or a snapping turtle. And you can see here, his are kind of worn, but you can see these kind of like yellow flecks and specks all over the top of his shell. And you can see those more when they're younger. So when we look at some of the younger turtles, you'll be able to see that better. But those are some of the characteristics that make Blanding's turtle different from all the other turtles in Ontario. So I'm going to put him back in, and maybe you'll be able to see his neck come out a bit more. Hopefully he'll go and bask sometime soon and then stick his neck out. But so Blanding's turtle, he's about 50 to 60 years old, and he is a good size for a Blanding's turtle. He's about the average size. And they can be found throughout Ontario as well as other regions in the Great Lakes. And there are some pocket populations in the northeastern US and Nova Scotia in Canada. So Blanding's turtles are considered to be a species at risk in Ontario, and they are threatened. which means that they're one step above endangered, or they're not quite endangered yet, but they're threatened of becoming endangered. So he is our adult blanding turtle. Sorry, I'm just looking for him. He's hiding, unfortunately. But I'll keep talking. So after more than 10 years of research, the Toronto Zoo has found a few at 6 blanding turtles, adult blanding turtles like Captain Sunshine in the Rouge Valley, or what is now Rouge National Urban Park. And so with so few adults left in the population, there was a high probability of that population becoming extirpated or locally extinct. Without us taking action, it was highly likely that there wouldn't be any blanding turtles left in this area. So the Toronto Zoo, and with numerous other partners, including Parks Canada, we decided to begin reintroducing turtles into the park through a program called head starting. So head starting is a name for a number of conservation programs that take animals from the wild, raise them in captivity until they're over the most vulnerable stages of their lives, and then re-release them into their native habitats. So this helps to reduce the mortality rate because we're keeping them in captivity during those vulnerable stages, as well as hopefully increase the number of individuals that are reaching the adult stage and then can reproduce and contribute to future generations. So here at the zoo, our head starting program is focused on blanding turtles, and it begins in central Ontario, where we go with our partners to collect eggs from the wild. And then we bring them back to the zoo. We collect those eggs from a stable source population. So a stable source population in central Ontario, so that we're not taking eggs from any vulnerable populations. We want to make sure that we're not having a negative impact on other populations for the benefit of our own. So that's why we do it sustainably and as sustainable a way as possible. And then once we bring those eggs back here to the zoo, we incubate them at 2 different temperatures. So turtles have temperature dependent sex determination, which is a bunch of long words that means that their sex is determined by the temperature at which the eggs are incubated at. So here at the zoo, we want about a 60% female to 40% male ratio. So we do 60% of our eggs at a slightly higher temperature, which gives us female hatchlings, and then 40% of our eggs at a slightly lower temperature, which gives us male hatchlings. Then once they hatch, we raise them for almost 2 years. They hatch in about early August, and we release them in mid-June. So almost 2 years for the first 2 years of their life. We raise them in habitats just like this. So these are some of our head starts here, and hopefully you can see them. They're kind of all in that back corner. Doing what turtles do, just kind of swimming around. And so this is their outdoor enclosure, which is very stereotypical. So you can see here that there's some wood for them to bask on. There's this basking area as well, and there's lots of plants for them to hide. We also feed them in these habitats so that they get used to looking for their food in plants, and it might get stuck in corners or things like that, which we want to try to mimic the natural environment as much as possible. So that gives them that opportunity. And like I said, these guys are almost 2 years old, so they're getting ready to be released, which I believe, Jesse, can you show that video footage?
I sure can. Let me just get it up. Take me 2 quick seconds, and we will show the world's cutest video of a turtle being released because we can. All right. Let's get this and that and play.
Perfect. And so this video footage is courtesy of Parks Canada and Rouge National Urban Park. And it's just showing the blanding turtles after we put them in the water, in the wild. It's adorable.
I'll play it again while we come out of it.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed that. I think they're super cute. But so after we release them, how do we know that this helps? How do we know that they are continuing to survive? So we actually put radio transmitters on them, which is another very long word, but I have one right here in my pocket. So you can see it's this tiny little thing, and I'm going to take off the tape. So this is actually what it is. And we put it on the turtle shell, and we put it on just before the release so that it doesn't impact them in the habitat or in their enclosure here. But so it has a tiny little radio in it, and it sends out radio waves that then have a unique frequency that we can tune into. So each turtle has a unique frequency, and then we use that to try and find them in the wild. And I don't know if you guys can hear that beeping, but So this sends out the radio, and then this is a receiver that we use. I can get it open, and we can use it to tune into the actual radio signal itself. And so hopefully you guys can hear the beeping.
Sure can.
Perfect. And so what happens is when we put them on the turtle in the wild, as we get closer to the turtles, the beeps get incredibly loud, or not incredibly loud, but they get louder. So that allows us to play a game of kind of like Marco Polo or hot or cold with the turtles. So I also have an antenna here, which is attached to the transmitter. And so I'm just going to so we can use it to point. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but the beeping has gotten a lot lower because I'm focused away from the transmitter. I have the transmitter way over here in my other hand. So the beeps are still there because we are very close together, but they're kind of low. Whereas if I do this, I don't know if it's hard to pick up on the video, but you can tell it's a lot louder here in person. So we use this technology to be able to tell where the turtles are in the wild. And then from there, we can see, you know, how they're doing, if they're behaving how we would expect wild turtles to behave, what kind of habitats they're using, if they're doing well, and if they're surviving to future generations. So we hope that after 10 to 15 years or 15 to 20 years of us introducing these baby turtles into the wild, or these 2-year-old turtles, I should say, that we'll be able to see that they're surviving and they're doing well enough and they're reproducing, and then hopefully we can take our hands off and just let nature do its course. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how head starting actually helps these turtles in the wild and what kind of threats they have here in urban environments. So, so when turtles are born, you want to show the babies maybe. So when turtles are born, I'm going to try to get one of these out, but they're only the size of about a toonie. So if you know what a toonie is in Canada, it's a very small, very, very small compared to the size that they get when they're adults. And so that makes them incredibly bite-sized. Oh, yeah, there's one that's close. That makes them incredibly bite-sized. So they're vulnerable to all different sorts of predators and predation, which is entirely natural. Predators are a natural part of the circle of life. But here in urban environments and other human impacted environments, there's an unnaturally high amount of predators. So here, sorry, you just see his yellow specks a little bit better that you couldn't really see on Captain Sunshine. You can see that nice sunny yellow chin. I'm just gonna put it back in the water for a little bit. Actually, let's put you on the good log. It's probably just gonna crawl off, but. So we have an unnaturally high amount of predators, or what biologists call subsidized predators, which are predators that have learned to thrive in human environments, things like foxes, skunks, and raccoons. So these are animals that eat things like our trash or our compost bins. And because of that, there's more of them around than if those food sources weren't available. So in the wild, let's give an example of where foxes only eat rabbits. Now, they do eat other things, but just for the sake of an example, let's say they only eat rabbits. So when the number of rabbits are very high, there's lots of foxes around. So the foxes will eat as many rabbits as they can. The foxes are happy, they're full, it's like a buffet, they're super pleased with themselves, and they have lots of energy to reproduce. So the next year, there's even more foxes, and that means that there's going to be fewer rabbits around because all of them are being eaten, and there's less surviving to reproduce and have babies. So the next year, there's going to be very few rabbits, and the foxes are going to have to spend more energy looking for rabbits, more energy competing with other foxes for rabbits, and they're going to have less energy to spend on breeding and reproducing themselves. So when there's less rabbits, there's fewer rabbits around, then the next year after that, there's going to be fewer foxes. Because there's fewer foxes, this gives the rabbits the chance to increase and to rebound in number. So the number of rabbits goes up, and then there's lots of rabbits around, so the foxes don't have to compete as much anymore, and there's lots of foxes again. And this cycle repeats itself naturally over time, where if there's lots of prey, then there will be lots of predators, or if the number of prey goes down, then the number of predators goes down. However, in these urban environments and in other human impacted environments like near campsites throughout Ontario, you're seeing an unnaturally high amount of predators, because when those prey numbers go down, for example, the rabbits in this example, then the predators can eat other things like garbage or compost. So that's why we say that they're subsidized predators, because this unnaturally high amount of predation is subsidized or supported by human behaviors and human impacts. So here in the Rouge Valley, or Rouge National Urban Park, these turtles are impacted by those high amounts of predators. So by head starting these turtles, we're really taking them out of the wild, and we're making sure that we raise them for 2 years. So for the first 2 years of their life, when they're really, really bite-sized, like I said before, the size of a toonie, then they're really prone to predation, but we're protecting them from that predation for the first 2 years of their life. Another thing is, when they're in the wild, the turtles grow incredibly slowly. So if Captain Sunshine's a bit far away from us now, but if we go back to Captain Sunshine, he is 50 to 60 years old, and it'll take about 20 years before he reaches that full size. So that just shows you how slow the growth rate is in the wild. So it really takes a turtle to 4 to 6 years before they get over being so bite-sized and really get over that most vulnerable stage of their life. Let's see one here. Oh. Okay, sorry. Whereas in captivity, after 2 years, they get to be about this big. So you can see he's much bigger than a toonie. He's about palm size. And at this point, they're still a little bit prone to predation, but they might only take something like a limb, or they might take a bite, but not be able to swallow the whole turtle. So that gives the turtle the chance to get away. So by raising them in captivity, we're not only protecting them, we're also growing them to a size that would usually take 4 to 6 years in the wild, but here only takes 2. So when we're putting them out, they're really not prone to predation at all. And so this is our 7th year that we will be reintroducing these 2-year-old turtles into the Rouge National Urban Park. And as such, we've released over 300 2-year-old and hatchling turtles into the park. And we're still tracking some of those turtles that are almost 8 years old. They'll be 8 years old in August. And some of them are still surviving, some of them are still doing well. And so we're hoping in the next couple of years to be able to see them reproducing. And then we know that our head starting program is working, and it's working well. I also wanted to quickly mention some ways that you can help us at home. I said earlier that we have a number of partners, and there's so many, so I won't list them all. But they provide a lot of help to the program, and we couldn't do it without them. And so if you want to help us, there are some easy things you can do. First off, you can try to prevent subsidized predators as much as you can. So you can ask your parents to buy things like animal-proof garbage or compost bins. So I live in Toronto, and my compost bin has a lid on it so that raccoons can't get into it. I know in some other places like provincial parks around Ontario, they have bear-proof garbage bins. So same thing, you want to prevent these animals from getting into the bin, both for the good of the animals so that their lives are more natural, but also for the good of little predators, or little prey, like turtles. Because by helping to reduce those subsidized predators, you're helping to create their ecosystem a more natural and a more natural amount of predation. Another thing you can do is you can help turtles cross the road. So if you're driving or walking along the road and you see a turtle trying to cross, you can ask your parents or your whatever adult you're with to help you help that turtle cross. And you want to make sure that it's absolutely safe to do so. So you never want to put yourself in harm's way to help that turtle. And there's lots of resources available, and I believe Jesse's going to share a link to a YouTube video that can help show how you can help the turtle cross the road. But some quick tips: you want to make sure that you're moving the turtle in the direction that it's facing. You want to make sure that you're carrying them low to the ground, and you want to make sure you're being careful around some of our bitier turtles, like snapping turtles or spiny turtles. And the last thing you can do, and my personal favorite thing to do, is to become a citizen scientist. So here at the zoo, we have a number of citizen scientist programs, but Adopt-A-Pond specifically has an app that you can download that has identification guides for turtles, toads, and frogs. So you can load up our app and you can tell what turtle you're looking at, and then you can actually submit your sightings and your observations to us, which we then share with our partners across the province. And we use that information to help figure out if there's habitat restoration that needs to be done, or habitat that needs to be protected, if there are things like turtle crossing signs that we can install on the road, or if you're in the Rouge National Urban Park, it helps us know that our turtles are doing well and that you actually saw one of them. So I think that's it. A couple of things that are coming up in the future. So on June 23rd, we're actually going to be doing our release this year where we will be releasing 58 turtles. So you can tune into that for the first time on the Facebook Live at the Zoom page. So that's at 1 p.m. And you can also check out our blending turtle exhibit once the zoo is open again, which will hopefully be something soon. And that's in the America Pavilion right across from the otters. And there you can see our incubating eggs and our 1-year-old.
Fantastic. Megan, what a great presentation. Just a quick note before we dive into the questions, your audio is a little better before when you were more like this, a little bit closer, just so for Q&A for your ease. June 23rd at 1 p.m. is when that turtle release is, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. So I put that in the YouTube chat bar for everyone. I encourage you guys to check it out. The zoo does so many great things online. All right. We're going to go into Q&A. Mimi's joining us live in Toronto, so I'm going to go to her first in a minute. If you're on YouTube, I've already seen a bunch of questions come in. Let me know where you're joining from. Share even more. We'll take as many as we can. And I also want to say, I think we can all agree that Captain Sunshine is the greatest name of all time for a turtle. So thank you guys for that, for making my day. Let's dive in. Mimi, I'm going to come to you first. If you want to just demute your microphone and ask us our first question, you're good to go.
Hello. I'm trying to think of a question. I can't really think of any questions.
That's okay.
She pointed out everything. The turtles are so interesting and they're so cute. I love turtles.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of a question.
We can come back to you in a minute if you'd like to take a second to think about it. We'll come back after. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Mimi. We love turtles too, and we're glad you do. All right, Juliet in Oshawa, coming into all our zoo programs. She wants to know, can a turtle turn back on its feet if they fall on their back?
Oh, definitely. So that's something that happens maybe not all the time in the wild, but definitely frequently. So I don't want to show you because it's a little bit stressful, but they have really long necks. So what they do is when you flip them over, their neck kind of comes out and they use it like a lever and they like push with their neck, and then that gives them enough momentum to be able to flip back over onto their feet. And it happens more on land than it does in the water, just because they're pretty maneuverable in the water. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. No, that's great, Megan. And also, I'm really glad you didn't show us. That's really important to highlight, is that, just because we can feature something in a zoo or an aquarium doesn't mean we should for the animals. So I'm actually glad you brought that up. Andreas wants to know, how many turtles do you release every year there, guys?
So we started off with fewer numbers. So the first couple years we only had 14, then 21, and then we built up to 50. So we were doing 50 for a while, but recently we were able to increase our capacity. So now our goal is about 60. So we try our best to get as close to 60 as possible. So this year is 58.
Nice. That is fantastic, guys. All right. Sienna wants to know, are turtles good pets? And I really like when we get questions like this around animals that could theoretically be pets. Can you explain a little about it?
Definitely. So you can't have any native species as a pet in Ontario. So there are 8 native species of turtle in Ontario, and none of those are pets. Those should be left in the wild, and you should never rehome them from their habitat to anything closer to you. I know a lot of people want to see turtles in like backyard ponds or things like that, but we do ask that you leave them in their natural environment, because that's where they grew up. That's where their best suited is, and they spend a lot of time trying to find that perfect habitat. So it's really important that we leave them there. There are pets that you can have as turtles. So for example, red-eared sliders are a pet that a lot of times people have, and you can get them from pet stores. But unfortunately, something in Ontario that's really sad is that people release their pet turtles, so their red-eared sliders, into the wild. And then those turtles take away resources from our native species, like blending turtles. So there's actually a turtle rescue. So if you're looking for a pet turtle, we advise you to go to Little Rescue, and that's rescue with a Q, so RESQ. And I can share that link after the fact. But so if you're looking for a turtle, they rehome your red-eared sliders. So we encourage you to go there to find one first before buying a new one. But turtles do live for a very long time. So Captain Sunshine here is 50 to 60 years old. They can live until they're anywhere from 80 to 100. So if you get a pet turtle, be prepared to give it to your grandkids and make sure that they're going to want to take care of it for an entire lifetime. It's a very long time commitment, much more so than a cat or a dog.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up. That's really important. When reptiles in general, a lot of snakes can live a long time too. So Megan, that's a perfect message. I love the questions for you. These are great. Okay, so some rapid fire ones for you. Genevieve in Oshawa. Hi, Genevieve. Nice to have you back. She wants to know what are the turtles' natural predators?
So turtle natural predators, when they're that bite size, like when they're just toonie size, almost anything will eat them. So things like birds, mammals, but as they get older, there are less and less things that can eat them. So that's a really big problem is ravens. Ravens are very smart. So when turtles will go to the side of the road, ravens have learned that if they're nesting, you can just flip them over and then eat them, which is very unfortunate. But so that's something that happens. Minks, foxes, skunks, raccoons are definitely a big issue, especially when they lay their eggs. The eggs are very smelly. So unfortunately, it lets all the predators around that there's eggs here that are full of energy and they're very easy to get to because turtles, once they nest, they just leave the nest on their own. So there's no protection of those nests. And that's another thing actually that you can do to help. If you find a turtle nesting, there's lots of resources available that can tell you how to build a nest protector, or you can buy one from certain organizations like the Ontario Turtle Conservation Center. And that's just like a mesh that you can put on top of the turtle nest and it keeps predators out.
Fantastic. You are like everyone at the zoo is insanely knowledgeable about all of this. This is great. All right, sort of combined questions from a bunch of people on YouTube. So they want to know, can these turtles breathe on land, which I think is something that we hear a lot with reptiles and turtles especially. So we want to stress that they do only breathe on land. They cannot breathe underwater. They're not like fish. They don't have gills to do that, so they have to come up on land to breathe. But how long can they stay underwater for, Megan?
So turtles can stay underwater for a very long time, and it depends on a lot of different factors like how much oxygen's in the water and the temperature of the water. So turtles are ectotherms, or they're cold-blooded. So the amount of energy that they spend to run their bodies depends on the temperature that they're at. So if they're in warm water, then they can't hold their breath for quite as long. But one thing that's really cool is because they're cold-blooded, they hibernate in the winter. So their body metabolism, or the amount of energy that they're using, gets really, really low. So they don't need a lot of oxygen or a lot of food for that time. And they're actually able to bury themselves deep in the mud under ponds, and they breathe through their butts, which is a really cool feature.
Yes, butt breathing has to come into every turtle presentation, whether you want it or not at home. Awesome. All right, Miss Davy joining us in Smiths Falls. Hi, Miss Davy. Geez, it's like my favorite people today. What is the oldest turtle you have there, and can you name all the turtles?
Can I name all the turtles? Definitely not.
Are they all named?
Are they all named? Oh, sorry. So
okay.
this year, there's a special surprise on the names of the turtles that I'm not sure if I can give away yet. So you will have to tune in on June 23rd to find out what their names are.
Nice. Okay. And then what's the oldest turtle there? Is it Captain Sunshine?
Oh, yes. Sorry, it is Captain Sunshine. So these ones are all 2 years old, and we don't keep them for longer than 2 years because they do get released into the wild. So Captain Sunshine is our oldest Blandings turtle, yes. Jesse, are you still there?
Yes, I am. I just muted myself because I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Sorry. Heidi asked a great question that I want to share. So they have a snapping turtle that's moved and sort of dug a ditch in front of their house. Should they move it to a pond to help it? How should they deal with something like that?
It definitely depends where you are and how close it is to water. So especially this time of year, it is nesting season. So they might be digging a nest, but it's hard to tell. If you want, you could give us a call. I don't have the phone number memorized, but if you go to the website, our phone number is there, so you can give us a call and we can give you a bit more information. Or the Ontario Turtle Conservation Center is also a really great resource, and they can tell you what to do if you find a turtle in your yard and how to tell if it's injured, things like that.
Fantastic. So you guys can check that out on the zoo website. And I think this ties in nicely with a question we've been getting, just to repeat the name of the app that you guys had. So I have linked these into the chat bar, but if you could share again the name of that great app that you guys have and the program, that would be great.
So it is just the Adopt a Pond app. So if you just look into Adopt a Pond on either your Apple Store or Google Play, it should come up right away.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm going to go back live to Mimi. Mimi has a question for us, so just unmute your mic and we will go for it.
Hello, so I just wanted to ask, how do turtles sense predators?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So I'm not 100% sure, but my best guess is that they are very visual. So you can see, they don't really have, they do have ears, but you can't really see their ears, and underwater sound is very distorted. So they might be able to hear, and they might be able to smell them, but my best guess is visual. If you saw Captain Sunshine before, maybe I can show you again. So I don't want to pick him up because I use my set of gloves, but if you can see, as soon as we get close to him, I don't want to scare him too much, but he sees our hands coming closer and he sees us coming closer. And then he kind of puts his neck in. And if he were in the wild and there was actually a risk, then he would probably dive right into the water.
Nice. All right. Yeah, we saw the head retract. So that was a great demonstration of that. Thanks, Mimi. Great question. All right. Our question online is, do turtles have teeth?
Turtles do not have teeth. Again, I don't know if you can see it, and I don't want to pick them up without gloves.
Yeah, that's good.
But so you can see, I don't want to point because I'm scaring him. But
we can see him. We can see him just fine, Megan. So like, you can just explain it, and we'll tell, and people can look up things online too. We don't want to scare the turtle. We want to keep Captain Sunshine nice and happy and shiny.
Perfect. And hopefully you can see from this distance, but he kind of has like a very sharp beak. So they use that very sharp beak. It's kind of like a bird, but not really. So they use that to tear their food instead of teeth. So that beak is very sharp, and they can use it to tear their food apart. And then from there they just swallow it. So they don't really need to chew. They just tear off their food into bite-sized pieces.
Nice. All right, we're going to take just a couple more questions before we wrap up. So one that I love from someone on YouTube, like, I think I'm picturing it being someone that like secretly wants them to not be this, but are turtles actually slow, Megan?
So turtles are very fast in the water. They can swim very quickly in the water, and they can go surprisingly fast on land. I think we all have this image of turtles kind of being like very slow, very just moving very slowly, walking very slowly, but they can really they can move when they want to.
Nice. All right, well, while we're checking out our beautiful Blandings turtles, I just want to highlight a few more things before we wrap up. So again, we have so many people joining from across Ontario. Is there any sort of big message you want to share with them about turtles in general, what they can do to help, how they can, make sure that they sort of understand and recognize all the turtle species near them? Where can we send people to learn more?
So the Adopt-A-Pond page has a lot of resources online. So if you go to the Toronto Zoo Adopt-A-Pond, there are resources on how to do things like how to create healthy habitat in your yard or on your property, how to protect those nests like I was talking about, how to help turtles cross the road. There's lots of things that you can do to help, and we encourage you to help. But again, I really just want to emphasize the Adopt-A-Pond app. If you ever see a turtle, then you can report it to us. And that's one of the greatest things that you can do, because then we can share that information with things like local conservation groups, and then they can continue to help turtles.
Fantastic. I love when we highlight citizen science. This is so neat, whether it's the Adopt-A-Pond, iNatural, so many great programs out there now to share the wildlife sightings that you have and really make a positive difference in conservation, and with some really fantastic organizations like the Toronto Zoo. So I know we said it already, but I want to harp on it again. So you've loved this presentation. We're so pumped about Blandings turtles. We want to see this live stream. Where do we see it and when?
So that's on June 23rd at 1 p.m. and that's on the Toronto Zoo's Facebook page, and so they will go live there.
Fantastic. Megan, this has been such a thrill. Thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate you highlighting such a fantastic and charismatic local species, and especially, of course, the star of our show, Captain Sunshine. Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
For everyone tuning in at home, again, this is our last one. Thank you, Megan. Sorry. Wait, cut it there for a second. Just a huge thanks for everyone for tuning in. Again, 20+ programs at the zoo. They're all online. They're in a fantastic playlist. So Toronto Zoo playlist on our Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants YouTube page. Whatever animal you're interested in, it's probably there. So do check it out. But so nice to wrap up with such a nice local species. And I just want to, Mimi, if you want to demute your mic with me, I know it's just you and I, but if you want to join me in saying a huge thank you to Megan, Mary Ellen, Captain Sunshine, and more, we are good to go. So thank you so much.
It was so interesting, and I love the turtles. They're just so cute.
Fantastic. We won some converts, ladies. We did it. I'll let you guys go for now. Thank you guys for everyone for joining in for Oceans Week as well. And Megan, have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Keep up the great work, guys. All right.